Welcome to Talking Branches Christmas season edition.
Yeah.
We'll call it a special the next couple weeks.
I like it. Christmas special.
It's Christmas special.
That's good.
Yeah, maybe it'll air on like a Tuesday night or something like old time TV shows did.
It can't get in the way
Johnny
of a
Carson
Christmas
or
story,
something
though,
like that.
Or It's a Wonderful
I
Life.
think a Christmas Story actually is like on TBS.
Do you like a
24/7.
Christmas story?
Yeah, I mean not
You do?
enough to watch it like
Oh,
multiple times
Okay.
a year, but like good for once a year.
it's like my favorite.
It's one of those movies that you put on like when you're going to take a nap. Like
Right.
now that I think about it,
Okay.
I'm going to go like take a nap on the couch.
Today you're gonna do that.
I might.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can find it.
Yeah.
I don't really have cable anymore.
That's like my favorite Christmas movie. Brandy.
Don't
can't
get me
stand
wrong,
it.
it's solid.
Yeah.
It's solid.
You'll shoot your eye out.
Yeah.
You'll shoot your eye out.
And then he sticks his tongue on a pole. I remember
Yep.
dreading that happening and
And
playing around with it.
And then the infamous leg lamp,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, my cousin has, he did a post on Facebook. He has a night light that is like a
Yeah.
mini leg lamp. It like plugs in like around the Christmas season.
You may not know this, but Nathan Herr actually has a full-size lamp.
All right, I'm gonna need to see that.
Yep.
Yeah. A full size. Like that thing was big.
Oh, maybe it's not
Like it
full-size.
was like this big.
Maybe-
it was like the
maybe
size of a
it's- maybe
human
it's-
leg,
yeah,
which
it's-
was made it really
It wasn't
weird.
that big.
It wasn't?
It's not that big.
I'll have to rewatch
Nathan's
the movie.
isn't that big. The one in the movie is.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks for the clarification.
Yep.
Hey, what are some of your, or maybe just your favorite Christmas tradition? I know you're a big Christmas guy.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I got a couple. So one of our favorite ones is the cabinets in our house, the upper cabinet doors. We wrap those.
I've noticed that.
With wrapping paper. So that was my mom started that one when I was a kid. So that's one. The other one, cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning. That was from my childhood, and now, so when my parents come over late morning, they bring cinnamon rolls. But before that, we've already eaten our new family tradition in our house, which is biscuits and gravy.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
solid.
I get cinnamon rolls and biscuits and gravy on Christmas morning.
Wow.
It's pretty
It's a
awesome.
lot of carbs. But yeah,
It's perfect.
it sounds delicious.
It's excellent. What about you? Do you have some?
Yeah, we used to do one when I was growing up that we haven't quite carried through, but we're still doing it with my family.
Yeah.
Where we would go get a Christmas tree and we'd always come back and have like clam chowder and garlic bread and like
Nice.
sparkling cider. We'd kind of have a candlelit dinner.
Clam chowder and sparkling cider. That mixes
You,
well.
you wouldn't think it would be a legit combo, but it is. It is.
I
And
feel
so
like half these traditions for families are like 1 year you just have something random in the cupboard and you eat it and you're like, oh, let's do that.
we're
every
doing
year.
that every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as that, I like the idea of the wrapping your cupboards.
It's a lot of work.
Do you wrap the inside too?
No.
So when you
Just the
open it,
doors.
you got the gnarly backside.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're not
let's
that
see.
good.
I don't know if I can handle that.
Well, at our old house, we used to have the hinges that just clipped off. This new one, we have to unscrew them. So that's going to be a problem over time, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you don't want to see my wrapping job. I don't think I could do that to my own house. I'd have to hire that out or something because it would not be pretty.
Yeah.
I'm not a wrapper. I'm a gift bagger. You throw it in the bag, put the little tissue paper over
That's
it,
good.
and call it good.
I'm not a rapper either.
To, from, you do that
Right.
on there so they know.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Do you have a bag of gift bags at your house that have been
Yes.
saved?
Yes. That's an interesting
stand
thing
it.
that's become more and more common because the bag of bags, because when plastic bags became outlawed and then re-entered because of COVID,
Outlawed.
you just,
I think
everybody
they
had
were
like a
just
bag of
charging
bags,
for them. I don't think they were illegal. Were they
I don't
illegal?
know. I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
Okay.
We'll get our best minds on
We'll
that.
confirm that later.
Stay tuned. And then the bag of paper bags now
Yep.
that we have paper, and then the bag of gift bags.
Yep.
And we have the bag of reusable bags too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. My
too
wife's
many.
kind of a hoarder
That's
with
public
bags.
now.
A hoarder of bags.
Okay.
Clarification there. She's great. She's great. So, getting into this series, why
Yeah.
this series?
Well, so
The series is titled "Who Needs Christmas?"
who needs Christmas? Yeah.
So, why this series in this year?
Well, I think for a lot of people, we don't always recognize how much we really need Christmas. And what we mean by that through this series is not the holiday tradition of Christmas, but the actual meaning of Christmas, the actual thing that we're celebrating. A lot of people don't recognize that we are in need of what Christmas brought, which is Jesus, a Savior. And even in this season of life, or this kind of situation we're in with quarantining and social distancing and wearing masks and all of that, we can really we're already kind of in a state of semi-depression, I'd say, as a society, even as a world, but definitely as a country. And so it'd be easy to say, man, who needs this hype? Who needs all this excitement? But in reality, I think we all need a little bit of Christmas, and we absolutely we're in need of what Jesus brought to the world. Sometimes we just don't realize it, we don't recognize it. So this series is just kind of reminding all of us who are watching and all of us who are listening that we really do need Jesus. We really do need the Christmas story. We needed Emmanuel, right? We needed God with us. We needed God in the flesh, which is the person of Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is too, like our biggest Christmas traditions, besides the ones we kind of talked about that are cute and all that, is like gift giving, right? I mean, that's what Christmas has kind of become, which I guess at the heart of it is probably good, but at the same time, it fills us full of like temporary things that, that kind of satisfy us for a short time. And then oftentimes we kind of realize, or we fail to realize that what it is that we really need in that time.
Right. It can be a season full of consuming, when really, it shouldn't be. This is cliche, but cliches exist for a reason. Christmas shouldn't be about receiving the gifts, right? It should be about blessing others and leveraging what we have to give to those who don't have, or to just remind those we love how much we really love them. And sometimes that's a physical gift. Sometimes that's the gift of just showing up and being there, of a phone call, whatever it is.
Yeah. Christmas is always, obviously, in the late December, which is close to the shortest day of the year.
Yep.
In and of itself, it's kind of like a depressing time, just, I guess, weather-wise. And
it's getting darker sooner, staying darker.
Right. And it's enough to kind of put you into like a bit of a depression, and it can be challenging time for a lot of people. And then what I've kind of realized is that your emotions are kind of heightened that time of year. You're a little more sensitive oftentimes, and maybe not this year, but you're with family that you're not normally with. It can bring back drama, bad memories, all that kind of stuff. So Christmas may not always seem like, it's the most, wonderful time of the year. What would you say to someone who's in this Christmas season? Obviously, we're all challenged with this huge thing of COVID, which is raging now more than ever. And Christmas may not look the same, so people may be frustrated about that. What would you say to someone right now who's genuinely just kind of down in the dumps with their circumstance? What can this Christmas offer them?
Yeah, well, I think, I'm glad you asked that. And that has a lot to do with even the message that we talked through this morning, that when you look at the backstory to Christmas, there's this promise that God gives to Abraham that there will be a blessing, right? That he will be a blessing to the world, to all the nations of the world. And if you look at the circumstances that Abraham and his extended family, which eventually became the nation of Israel, you look at their circumstances over the course of 2,000 years and you go, man, circumstantially, it looks hopeless in so many ways. And so for many of us, we can be in that spot even right now. Our circumstances seem hopeless. It seems like we're in a dark tunnel and there's no light, there's no end to it. Correlate our circumstance with the nation of Israel's circumstance. And while it took more time than maybe anybody wanted, God was still absolutely at work and was with the nation through all of the circumstances, despite the circumstances. And oftentimes, we look at our circumstances and allow that to define whether we're blessed. We allow our circumstances to define or to be directly attached to whether or not God loves us or is with us. And that's just not the case. And when you look at, I think that's one of the biggest themes that we see when we look at the story of God, which is found in the Bible, is that circumstances never define God's love or pursuit of us. And so when we look at our circumstances now, they're only for a season. They're not forever. And God is not distant. He's still at work and he's still with us. So we have a lot of opportunity to learn how to lean into him during a season where things are unsure. And I'm struggling with that too. I think that's the other thing I'd say to anybody who's in that spot now is, I mean, we're always talking about, man, what do we do as church leaders? What do we do as business owners? How do we lead through this? How do we find some sense of certainty and hope? I think for once, maybe for the first time in our lifetime, the entire nation is really in a very similar place where we're all looking, we're all unsure, we're all kind of struggling.
Yeah.
We all look at our circumstances and go, man, this is less than ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and I thought you handled that question great with people dealing with difficult circumstances. One of the things that we need to realize during this holiday season is that God is for us through everything, and that we're not the first to face these circumstances, and that I think God really, I think it's fair to say, I think God really likes underdog stories, where he uses the circumstances we're in to help us realize that we're not in control.
That it's him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That there's something larger at work. And as soon as we can kind of gain that perspective and really surrender and give our lives fully to him, he's able to then come in and do the impossible, which is what he did with the original Christmas. Right. He came in to a world that was completely broken. In the same way he wants to come into your life when you're completely broken. Absolutely. And say, hey, let's make something beautiful, beautiful and new out of this mess that nobody thought, coming from Bethlehem, from Nazareth, like these places that people are like, really? Like at that time, they're like, God can do something there? If he can do something there, he can do something anywhere.
Exactly.
If he can do something in me, he can do something in anyone.
Yeah, the reality is if Jesus came into a perfect family, into a perfect situation, if our lives were perfect, we would have no need to turn to him. We would have no reason to think that a relationship with God would even be valuable, and God's goodness would be missed. So Jesus came into less than ideal circumstances with his family. We'll talk a little bit more about that through the course of the series, to show that God actually knows how to relate to us in the midst of our mess. Right. So he's with us through the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, I am excited for this series. Christmas is something that I always get excited about every year, but this one in particular, because I think right now we need hope more than ever.
Yep.
We need truth. We need community.
Yeah.
We need it all. So I'm praying for some awesome things for God to work in people's lives through this series. So Branches, you're going to want to stay tuned. We'll be online coming weeks. We'll be in person in the coming weeks.
Yep.
So wherever you may fit into that, please make it a point to be here.
And we'll be talking about what our Christmas Eve looks like here in the near future too. So for those of you who are wondering, man, what are we doing? You'll be hearing from us specifically on that in the coming weeks too.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in, Branches. We will see you next week. Have an awesome week.